The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back. Hey guys, well today I got another Bad Avenue story for you. This is a story, I'm going back to 88, 89. Now, back in the day when I was growing up, this is when the beepers were out. And we started selling packages of cocaine. Now, back in the day when we were kids, we started very early with drugs. Guys turned us on like Scotty Fat, Frankie Americanda, Charlie Tuna, Georgie Conti. We used to do cocaine with these wise guys at a young age. And Georgie Conti, I remember him telling us, you guys grew up too fast. But going back, thinking of those times, they were wild times. And if you survived them, you were lucky. In my neighborhood, if you made 19, you were lucky. That's just the way the neighborhood was. And when I say Bad Avenue was the slums, I only mean Bad Avenue. I don't mean all of Bensonhurst. Bad Avenue was the slums because these guys taught us things that we looked up to them as father figures. Real fathers wouldn't let their children do the things that they made us do. Go on errands for them, volunteer and do some things for them. Like killing Vincent Bickelman, Paulie G for Anthony Spero. Real fathers don't do that, I'm saying. And these guys took advantage of us. Yes, they did. Well, I want to get to Georgie Adamo and Paulie G. Now, I put up this photo of Paulie G. This is a photo when Paulie G took a pinch for a gun on Bay 23rd and Bad. Him and Fabrizio were standing on a corner, and they had a gun on them, and all of a sudden, 5-0 pulls up, and they start chasing him. They take the gun and they toss it. 5-0 finds the gun, and Paulie G and Fabrizio ends up doing weekends on Rikers Island. So I'm going back to 88, 89. At this time, Little Georgie Adamo is getting addicted to drugs. Cocaine back then was the main drug going around that people were doing. And it was all over the neighborhood. I mean, you could get it for free. That's how it was in our neighborhood growing up. People would actually want some coke, you want to make some money, or you would rob drug dealers and things like that. That's how we grew up. So Paulie G is selling cocaine at this time. Now, let me just say that this is a time when John Polio was murdered. He was murdered on April 4th, 1988. This is when we all became tight, me, Paulie G, and the Bad Avenue crew, Little Georgie Adamo, and my friends. And Paulie G was making a name for himself. As you see, Paulie G was a good-looking kid. He was a tough kid. Out of all our friends, he was one of the toughest kids in the crew, for sure. And he was the leader of our crew. That's the reason why he was the leader. And he was smarter, too. And we know Paulie G's outcome. He answers the door. Tommy Reynolds, Joey Calco ends up killing him. So at this time, Little Georgie Adamo is doing a lot of cocaine. And everyone knows in the neighborhood, Georgie does a lot of cocaine. So one day, before I even get into that, let me just say, Little Georgie Adamo was in and out of jail. He would go to jail. He would get cleaned up. He would come home. He'd be all built up. From working out, he'd be healthy, nice. He'd be looking good. And, he would walk around the neighborhood and say, hey, Georgie, wow, it's nice to see you home. He'd do like 18 months, a year, 6 months, stuff like that. He'd be in and out. And the cops knew him in the neighborhood. He was always stealing cars, getting caught in stolen cars, running around, doing some burglaries here and there. He wasn't the smartest kid, but he was a good kid. Georgie had a good heart, and so did Paulie G. So Little Georgie Adamo gets addicted to drugs. So he comes home out of doing like maybe a couple months in Rikers Island, and he's all healthy and stuff. So he's hanging out, Paulie G selling the cocaine. And one night, it's like maybe 10, 11 o'clock, we are all watching movies in Paulie Gleno's apartment downstairs in his basement. We used to watch the old boxer movies and all kinds of James Cagney old time movies. So Paulie G gets a beep, and usually we would meet people on 86th Street, 19th Avenue, 19th Avenue in Benson, 19th Avenue in Bath, right on Paulie Galino's block. So Paulie G gives little Georgie Adamo a Ziploc bag full of little baggies of coke. I'm saying some of them had half a grams in them, some of them had grams in them, and some of them had like an 8 ball, because you don't know what the customer wants. And there was a couple customers to meet. So little Georgie volunteers. He says, "Oh, give me, I'll go deliver it." Now, you believe in little Georgie because he's cleaned up. Now, you don't know if someone's going to relapse. And this is what little Georgie did. So Paulie G gives little Georgie the coke. He says, "Hey, Georgie," he says, this guy's got to give you 120 for the 8 ball. This guy's got to give you something for the gram. So he had to meet like 3 people, little Georgie. So little Georgie takes the Ziploc bag full of coke, and little Georgie leaves the house. And me and Paulie G, we're in the house in the basement smoking a joint. And we're watching these old boxer movies, Willie Pep, Rocky Graziano, uh, Sugar Ray Robinson, all these old time fights that we used to love. And all of a sudden, time's going by, and little Georgie is nowhere to be found. What's he mean? What happened to Georgie? And Paulie G calls his house from Paulie G's house. Now remember, there was no cell phones, just beepers. And all of a sudden, we don't see Georgie. So we go looking for Georgie. We pass by his house. He's not there. Georgie's missing for like maybe 4 or 5 days. Okay. We get some kind of information that Georgie's in a hotel, the Gregory Hotel in Bay Ridge. So we go there. Me and Paulie G, we drive there. Paulie G had a Cadillac. We drive there. We get the room number. We walk in the hotel. We have jogging suits on. We're looking good, And, listen, we love little Georgie. At this time, Paulie G was mad, but because little Georgie got him for like maybe $500-600 in, cocaine. Back then, $500-600, that's profit money. So we knock on one of the doors. All of a sudden, we hear, "Who is it?" And it's little Georgie. Who's he in there with? He's in there with a couple guys. So we said, "Georgie, it's Jimmy and Paulie. Open up the door." Georgie goes, "Who?" I said, "Jimmy." I said, "Open up the door." So Georgie starts going, "Jimmy, what'd you bring him here for? What'd you bring him here for?" And I see him looking underneath the door, and they're like running around, jumping over the bed, stuff like that. Oh shit, Paulie G and Jimmy's outside. So these are the missions that little Georgie went on. And we all kind of went on every so often, I'm saying, back in the day when we were kids. But eventually what happens is we leave that hotel, we go on our way. Paulie G gets over it, and little Georgie gets picked up for an armed robbery. So when he gets picked up for an armed robbery, me and Paulie G say, "You know what? Let's go visit little Georgie." So Paulie G put it behind him. He's not mad no more. He's actually mad that little Georgie is in jail doing time now for something stupid. He did an armed robbery. Because every time little Georgie got hooked on the drugs, he would steal a car and go do an armed robbery. This is what he used to do. He was a wild kid, little Georgie. Little Georgie back in the day was a tough kid, believe me. Then when he started doing drugs, he slowed down a lot. But when we first met him, he was tough. And if he had a fist fight with anybody, he would just grab you and he would just drag you all over the place. That's how tough he was. And so me and Paulie G, we go visit little Georgie. Okay, that's a picture of me, Paulie G, and little Georgie. As you know, Paulie G's dead, little Georgie's dead. But I'll tell you, when little Georgie wanted cocaine, he got it. Okay, no matter where he had to go. There was a time when Joey Temperino was selling cocaine, and Joey Temperino would give him anything he wanted. Georgie would swear up and down, "Yeah, I'll give you the money tomorrow." And people would give him the drugs because he was Anthony Spero's godson. So they always thought he was good for it until later on they would realize, you know what, little Georgie's not good for it. He would say anything to get that cocaine. But back in the day, these are the things that went on in the neighborhood. And a lot of drug dealers back then, a lot of cocaine going on. Paulie G uh, went from selling drugs to shaking down all the drug dealers, making a name for himself, following in Tommy Karate's footsteps, wanting to be a gangster, killing people. And this is what the neighborhood produced as far as kids wanting to be wise guys. And that's a Beth Avenue story. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I also want to talk about a TV show that I was watching yesterday, and maybe you guys can catch it. It's called Web of Make Believe. It's a show on Netflix. I think it's #1, and it's about lies, debt, and the internet, about trolls and all that. So if you get a chance, check it out. But listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on my next one. I love you guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye, guys. Enjoy your day. The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.